So to you witches, vain enough to covet the life of our commander, farewells in order. Watch as all your kindred out there sighed and wept, especially when the muskets of the Cerberus Maid team thundered before their tall ears. Here's your look at the new I8TOYS Cerberus Maid team. From the thrilling new Serene Hound series comes Cerberus team members Sir, Burr, and Russ. Each figure is 1/6 scale or 11.8 inches tall and sure to tower over other figures on your display shelf. The figures are outfitted in real fabric maid's dresses topped with white tactical aprons. Wait a minute, I'm just checking my cleaning bill. I didn't realize I was paying extra service for slaying. Of course, before we get a closer look at the Cerberus Maid team consisting of Sir, Burr, and Russ, I'd like to first thank the folks over at I8TOYS that did provide the sample of all three members of the Cerberus Maids that we could have a look at in this review. If you are a fan of Serene Hound and you'd like to get these for yourself, they are slated to drop in November 2023. We're going to grab the tape measure. They're all going to be about the same size. One does seem a little bit taller than the others, but on average, they're going to be about the same size. We're going to measure really just one of them. Starting first with Sir, you're looking at the figure standing almost about 11 inches in height, or the figure's going to be about 28 centimeters tall. When we jump over to the figure's accessories, you'll see that the Cerberus Maid team comes with quite a lot. I was actually really surprised and impressed to see that I8TOYS packed as much as they actually did. Some things, though, are exclusive to each of the individual figures, like their hair pieces and the weapons that they wield. Yet then other things are actually ones that are basically the exact same accessories for all the three figures. Their hands, grenades, their glasses, and the Maid headbands are all the ones that come in with all the three figures. You probably already noticed that when we were unpacking these initially at the beginning of this review. You probably saw a lot of samesies simply just because I was removing pretty much the same accessories. Those same accessories, by the way, are a lot of hands, quite a lot of hands. One thing I did also do, though, in the opener of this review, I did already change out the hands for Sir and Russ. Those hands, I'm going to already have them with triggering firing hands suited for specifically their types of guns that they actually have. Burr, for example, does have a P90 submachine gun, and gripping hands or triggering firing hands just don't kind of work for that kind of firearm. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But the hands that they come included with are a pair of relaxed hands. I'm doing this also to show you as well that they're fairly soft plastic that they're using, so it's very easy for them to wrap around the gun handles. Pair of relaxed hands. You get ones that aren't as necessarily relaxed. They're kind of a little bit more like gestured hands. You can kind of see like the way that the fingers are bent inward, that they're a little bit different than the flatter hands we looked at first. The figures also come all included with a closed pair of fists. And they also come included with these hands that I think are best suited for holding, say, for example, the frame of the glasses. I'm going to take the glasses for right now. We're just going to actually fit them in between the fingers. That's the only guess I really have, because like the closure of the hand really doesn't accommodate any other thing that I can really think of, unless, for example, bringing back in their, well, starting to bring in their Maid headdresses, the pieces that they actually are going to be with all the three figures. There's also like little communicator or headband on the side, and maybe the hand is supposed to clip around that. They don't really have a proper bend in the elbows to accommodate a full bend all the way up to the shoulders. So I think those hands are actually better suited for holding, say, the glasses. While going and talking about the glasses, all three figures share the exact same molded of glasses. They're all molded here in black plastic. There is no visible actual lens you can see on the inside of the glasses. Makes things a little bit easier, a lot easier to actually see the head sculpts and the eyes that they sculpted on these figures. The actual eyes as well do actually independently move, so that's pretty cool as well. Something I did also already bring in is that they also come included with their Maid headbands. On the top, there is the frill that normal maids would have. I don't know if new maids or current maids of today's age still kind of carry around or wear these things. But there's also a little walkie-talkie or a little headband there on the side. This does move back and forth, so there's a little bit of posability at play here. And this simply just clips around the heads of the maid's head sculpts. The figures also come included with a pair of grenades. Now, I don't mean to draw your attention and concern to this, but all of them have removable pins. This one already is missing a pin. I'm sure we only have 5 seconds or so before we all get blown to Kingdom Come. But all the rest of them, I wanted to show you, for example. Let me just make sure I grab the right one here. One comes basically with a smooth grenade, and then the other one is a little bit more of like that honeycomb or traditional design of grenade. And again, I think they're all removable pins, but the one that came included with Sir just happens to be missing a pin as we count down the seconds that are remaining. As we look at the rest of the figures' accessories, now all the rest of the things are basically going to be exclusive to each of the individual figures. So, for example, Sir comes included with an AK-47. One thing that you'll see, at least identifying Sir and Burr as being part of the same team, is that their weapons are kind of more of a bluish gray color. You can kind of see it there on the front and on the back of the AK-47. One thing that's really neat about the AK-47 is that you can actually draw this back. So there's actually some moving components, and you can also as well remove the clip. The clip does actually have 3 of them, so if you happen to run out of ammunition, you have a few extras that you can actually then clip back in place, and it just clips back in like that, and you can lock it back, as you can see right there. There's a strap as well, so I want to make sure this is all the way in. There's also a strap here also as well that you can have this draped around her shoulder, and there seems to be also a little sight you can also see there as well. The attention to detail, really impressed. The fact that I8TOYS puts as much as they do just in the firepower alone. Now, for her other accessories, the figure also comes included with swappable hair pieces. This is something that you'll see kind of as we go along with the other 2 figures, that they're all sort of having the same sort of setup for hairstyles, and basically the hairstyles will be slightly varied from one to the other. As I pick up Sir here, we're going to look at the actual figure itself. Now, while they are also sporting maid outfits, you can see that they are very unique to one another. How I best recognize these is Sir basically has the SWAT vest kind of further up her chest. Burr, for example, doesn't have that. She has more of the apron, and it's a little bit shorter. And then Russ has basically like the longer apron, and she has like the frills around her shoulders. Head sculpt, though, for Sir, very beautiful looking sculpting that I8TOYS sculpted for these figures. All of them, like already mentioned, do have actually removable eyes. To access those eyes, it's just a case of popping the head off the post. Put the rest of the remaining decapitated body down there for a second, and then again showing you guys what the head sculpt looks like. It has very natural looking painting. I love the way they've actually airbrushed a softer pink around the eyes. It's a very pretty looking portrait. But what you can do is that you can actually take the hairpiece off. This hairpiece, if I can just actually get my finger in there, this hairpiece comes completely off, and this also, actually this one does not, the other ones do. They have a front hairpiece or front bang piece that actually detaches separately. On the inside, all the 3 figures will have basically the same setup. There is little tiny joysticks on the inside, and they actually did in fact give you a tool, although honestly I found the tool was a little harder to use. It's this little sort of cylinder post. The idea in mind is you're supposed to clip this onto the end of the joystick and then move the eyes around, but honestly, you could also just get there simply in there with your fingers and move the eyes around that way too. I'm very impressed actually for the size of the eye, that even movable eyes was even something that they put into these figures. Because again, like the sizing of those eye sockets, it's very hard to even conceive the idea that any company would even dare to try to put moving eyes in there. And yet, I8TOYS actually did. You can see there on the back. Now, I did already say that they actually have individual hair pieces. So, like, for example, this one was already contained that had the bangs on the front and a full head of hair there on the back as basically was all one piece. But then the other hair piece actually comes in 2 parts. So you have the main piece. You can see there's a magnet underneath, and that attaches not so much to a magnet on the inside, but basically just frictions inside the head. And then you got 2 variations of hairpiece. So you have this one, and again, you can see there's a magnet there on the inside, magnet on the top. That just clips in like this. So you can have like the bangs onto the sides, or what you can also do too is just attach this, and she also comes with this hairpiece that has a little more of the hair kind of flowing into the front. One thing you can also do too is take the glasses that we looked at earlier. Where did I put the glasses? Right over here. Just take the glasses, carefully put them around her ears. Now, it's easiest, I find, if you put them around sort of her ears first. And when you get them around her ears as best as you thought you got it, then just sort of take the hairpiece and fit it over top of it. The back hairpiece sort of keeps then everything in place, and then you can take the front bangs, and careful that you don't bang the glasses in the process. Just bring the front bangs around and clip that in place as well. And once you succeed at least in doing that, then the glasses won't be going anywhere. And then of course you got the front of the hair, the back of the hair all intact, and then you're just going to take yourself the Maid headband, and then that just basically clips over top. And then of course you can always go back in and then fix the frill if necessary. I really like the idea that there's customization available for these figures. And then we're just going to go ahead and put the head sculpt back in place. As for the rest of the outfit here for Sir, basically all of them have basically the black Maid outfit underneath, and then a SWAT vest, like basically apron in the front of it. This one has several different pockets here in the front. She has a couple of pockets also down there below as well. It looks like they have packed them at least with foam to kind of bulk them up a little bit. And there's also some available slots here as well. You can, of course, take the clips. You can also slide those in as well. So there's some storage availability on these figures for all the extra things that aren't going to be something that she can just simply carry around. If she's going to be carrying around, for example, the weapon around her shoulders, you want to think at least she has necessary firepower that she can store in front of her. There's also a big, large pack there also on the back. I don't think it detaches. It almost does look like it can, but I don't. With the risk of this potentially breaking, it is basically just padded anyways with foam inside. And again, just really nicely sculpted figure, and really well tailored too. Now, Sir, and also I guess to some extent Burr, also do come included with like tights. Russ has shorter stockings, so you're going to be seeing a little bit more of her visible legs. So this one actually does have actual stockings. The material underneath is more of a rubbery body, and then the frame inside for the articulation points is basically built into the rubber body. And this one does have high heels. When I first actually took the figure out of the packaging, I was missing the shoe, and then I realized that the shoes actually do come off the feet. So you want to be careful if you are getting this out of the packaging that you don't leave anything behind, and you certainly don't leave any shoes on the floor. The articulation on the figures are basically all going to be the same. So you got a ball joint for the top of the head, for example. You can bring the arms out easily at 90 degrees. You can take these arms and move them forward, move them back, but they also have a shoulder crunch in there as well. Some additional padding there also at the top of her uniform. She does have, now again, it may be a swivel there in her bicep, but it's really hard to say just because again, like she's got a rubbery suit over top of it. But she has what I'm guessing to be a double hinge on the elbow. The hands do rotate all the way around. She has an upper torso ball joint. Legs do split out. You can bring the legs forward and bring the legs back, and the figure does have a double hinge on the knee. Now you may have heard that when I was bending it. There seems to be a ratcheted joint behind the scenes allowing the knees to bend as much as they do. There is also additional articulation in the ankle, although sad to say, unfortunately, there's no ankle articulation that moves back and forth. So when getting these figures, first of all, on a turntable that's always rotating, I had the figures actually wobble a little bit, and I was worried that they were going to fall just because, again, like the footprint, especially on high heels, isn't as great as, say, if they were flat feet. But Cerberus, certainly consisting of only just the one member we've looked at so far, Sir of the Cerberus Maid team is a really nice looking figure. On to now Burr. Now, it's B-E, so I don't know if it's B or B. Either way, though, again, she makes the middle member of the Cerberus Maid team, again, because you're taking the names and combining them together. Now, her specific weapon is that she comes with a P90 submachine gun. This was the first weapon that was introduced to me, I think, when I was watching Stargate. They had a very similar weapon like this. There are things that actually do move on it, so you can actually take the front piece and take that off completely, which I think is just a laser sight. And then there's also, you want to just make sure that this clips properly back in place. There is also a removable additional magazine or additional clip of ammunition, and that can also detach as well. This detaches just via clip, and you just have to be very careful when detaching this. Like I said, it just sits in between. It basically sits in between like this little clip piece of plastic. Now, for all intents and purposes, what I might just do is just leave it in place, because I'm worried the few times I've already done this that this may start to develop fracture marks on the side of the plastic. But ideally, though, you'd just be simply able to remove this and then house this on the front of her outfit. So there's some storage there also as well for some additional ammunition. I always have been intrigued by the design of a P90. It's a really interesting looking firearm. But unfortunately goes along with that, though, the complications of having a figure holding it. You can't simply just say, for example, take a gripping hand. I'm just going to grab one that's... Do I have one over here? I think I do. Grab one that we had looked at from... There we go. It's a little harder, of course, to take like a trigger firing hand and then just wedge that in there. So what I actually found, it was a lot easier when it came to hers, was to take a relaxed hand and basically just fit this around the handle that way. And that's actually what I ended up doing here for Burr. I just simply just had a more relaxed hand, sort of holding and housing the weapon that way. It's a decently detailed gun. Looking on the bottom of it, though, I was really thinking there was going to be a clip that was going to fit underneath it, but there wasn't one that came packed along with the figure. So I don't think one was supposed to actually even go there. It's just an extra slot on the undercarriage of the actual gun. But it is basically colored the exact same way as the one that came included with Sir, for example. So you get more of that kind of frosted beige or frosted gray coloring scheme. It's only really shared between these two figures. When we eventually look at Russ, her actual weapons are going to be just solid black. One thing also comes included with this figure as well is an actual leotard or an actual suit that she could wear over top of it. It's a fairly really stretchy material. It does actually have no closure on it or no opening Velcro to it, so it'd be just simply a case of fitting this over top of her existing frame. My concern, though, that goes along with this is just because, again, like there's a lot of layers of fabric. I'm not choosing to really put that on myself, just because, again, like let's just move Sir out of the way here. Just because, again, you're going to have to kind of remove the entire apron altogether. You're going to have to probably just try to, I think this would basically just fit over top of her existing Maid outfit. I'm just going to leave it off, at least for right now. Now, the figure also comes included basically the same glasses, the same Maid headband, but what she does, though, come differently with is, again, new hair pieces. And now actually having all three of the figures in front of me, another easy way to kind of tell which accessories belong to which figure is if you look at the hairpiece, for example, that comes included with Sir, she has notably more brown or like auburn color in there, where actually B actually does actually have more of a darker black coloring to her hair pieces. Now she has a fully contained one like Sir did, and again that would just simply go over top of the existing magnet that she has, or again she also has a bang piece that would swap out with the existing bang that I have right now. Now, this one actually, I did start the review with having this hairpiece on, which was all one piece. With actually Burr, what I ended up doing was I had this one with the actual hairpiece as separate. So again, if you want to detach the two, it's just a case of taking this off carefully. And there's the magnet underneath, there's the magnet on the top. And if you wanted to swap that, just again, a case of popping that in place. Now again, when it comes to the glasses, if you want to put the glasses on this character, you may want to put the glasses on first before you decide to put the bangs on. The bangs attach very carefully and very easily, in fact, with the magnets. For her outfit, it's basically, I would imagine it's pretty much similar to Sir. It's just a case, of course, instead of having the full apron, she has more of a lower skirting instead. Now, she does actually have little tiny pockets down below here. The colors, in fact, actually, that they're wearing for their aprons are very similar to, in fact, the gun. So you already know who the guns belong to. She has the really nice-looking little cuff sleeves. Actually, all the three figures have the cuff sleeves. A few little pockets there on her bicep. They all actually have also the patch there on the top. So again, you have the Serene Hound gang, or Serene Hound symbol there on the top there. And we spin the figure around. The tailoring on all these figures is really well done. This one also has, like Sir before, a little pouch there on the back of her body. Now this one actually attaches via Velcro. All of them have their little skirts actually attached by Velcro. So you could, in theory, detach this if you wanted to, but I'm going to leave it intact. Now, whereas Sir before had the more, again, I kind of like the more darker black tights. These aren't so much, I guess, I did say earlier that they were tights, but they're kind of more like knee-high socks or knee-high tights that way. You can kind of see, actually, in fact, by bringing the skirt up, how they're using more of a softer plastic that makes up their body. There still has the same articulation, and the only thing also different about this is not only the outfit that she's wearing, but this one also has slightly different shoes as well, which are really, in a way, removable also, too, if you wanted to. The articulation, again, on her is going to be exactly the same to Sir, so we're not really going to look and focus on the accessories or focus on the articulation for her, simply just because, again, it's a carryover from Sir we looked at before. On to the final figure, and honestly, my favorite of the figures is Russ. Now, Russ has a very similar outfit to Burr. The only thing different about it is the fact that she has the longer dress, the longer skirt, and the longer apron there on the front. Her accessories are different in the sense that, first of all, instead of actually having two, she comes with, well, instead of having one, I should say, she comes with two. The two accessories that she comes with are identical to one another, a pair of handguns. The handguns themselves not only have removable silencers. Now, this silencer was a little harder to attach onto the end of it. It seemed to sit a little looser. The other one was a little bit more secure. I'm gonna have to go and pick that up in a second. But this one also has removable clips. You just kind of have to get your finger in there and remove these. And she has not only the ones that are housed currently in the handles, but she also has two extra ones as well. The neat thing also about these ones is the fact that there's storage on the back of Russ. If you flip the figure around, on the back she has 2 holsters. If you open up the closure here, the clasp attaches via magnet, and there's just enough space, you have to get in there with your finger, to take then the gun. And you want to make sure that everything kind of fits in there. The thing about the guns, unfortunately, I'm just going to put her down here for a second, is the top of the gun does detach. So there are moving components on it. The idea is this is supposed to draw back. But if you're not careful, especially when you're tucking it into the holster, I've had this happen a couple of times actually, where I'm trying to slide this down and it ends up sliding a part of the gun off in the process. But basically those just house on the back of the figure's body. The other thing that's also unique to her is that also she comes included with the same, well, similar in the sense that she has the contained hairpiece, which again is the bangs and the back section of it that all attaches via the magnet. But then also, like the other two, she also has a bang piece that basically replaces the one that she has in the front. Just to show you guys what that looks like, we're going to detach, you know what, let's just remove the head altogether. Just get the figure here to stand. What I really like also about this one is that she has pigtails on the back of the figure's body. So what we're going to do is we're just going to detach the hairpiece. And like the other ones before, she also has the little ball joints inside that you can move the eyes around. Let me see if I can get in there and move the eyes around. Little harder to do. There we go. There's one. You want to make sure, of course, while you're doing it, that the eyes are looking straight at you and that one eye isn't quite lopsided. Then you're going to take your glasses. I didn't do this actually with Burr, but I'm going to do it now with Russ. And we're going to just put the glasses around her ears like that. Then you take the back headpiece, and that's just going to fit over top like that. And then once that's all in place, take the bangs that you want to then use, and then that's going to fit then around the glass frame. I only did it really before when we looked at Sir. We're going to do it again when we look at Russ here. And again, a really nice, pretty looking portrait. My favorite really of the three. I especially love the fact that on the back she has the pigtails. And for all intents and purposes, I suppose, you probably could use the same hair pieces if you wanted to mix and match them with the other two figures that we've already had a look at. But really, my favorite is Russ between the three figures. And we're going to go ahead and put the figure back onto the post. Again, we already looked at the fact that her body is basically, costume-wise, is pretty much similar, other than the fact that she has the longer front apron, and she also has little frills on the tops of her shoulders. The easiest way to really tell between the three figures. Again, you've got the dark black outfit here for the Maid outfit. The only thing, again, different is the fact also on the back she has the holsters for the guns, and a much longer dress also here as well. She has shorter socks this time around, and much larger, I would imagine, much harder to run shoes as well that she's wearing as also. Now, for the figure's articulation, again, it's going to be exactly the same for all the three. So head is going to be on that same ball joint post. Arms still bring out 90 degrees. You can, again, move them forward and back. Bend at the elbow. Double bend on the elbow. Hands rotate all the way around. I know, again, we already looked at this for the articulation. One thing also, I didn't want to stop myself here for a second before we run through the rest of the figure's posability, is that there's all this additional padding. I'm sorry to draw the attention here, but she has all this additional padding. Actually, all three of the figures have beefed up the padding there on the front of the figure's body. So there's some, again, a little bit of cushion there on the front. Again, like the legs do split out. Upper torso, I shouldn't forget about that, has the ball joint. Legs do split out. Again, you can bring them forward and back. Double bend at the knee, which again seems to rely on that ratcheted joint in the inside. And then again, you've got the articulation. The only thing I would again say for these, now experiencing this 3 times, is I do wish that there was some additional articulation where you could rock this back and forth just to kind of help compensate and stabilize for the much finer footing that they have. With only really heels, it's really hard these figures to balance, more so especially if you have this figure, any of these figures really rotating on a turntable like I had at the beginning of this review. Made things a little bit more problematic. They could certainly get them to balance. But all in all, though, really nice looking figures. Pretty head sculpts really on all 3 of them, and very unique to all of them as well. Not only are the accessories something that are very different depending on which figure that you're looking at, but again, like all the heads and all the hair pieces are very unique. And even really when you're looking at them too, like the colors of the hair are all different from one another. With Burr, or is it Burr? I really wanted to color Burr as Sir Burr Russ. But like, again, like all the figures are really nicely, again, sculpted, very well painted. And the fact that they also took the time to add the articulated eyeballs with joysticks on the inside cavity of their heads, really nice work from the folks over at I8TOYS. So if you're fans of the Serene Hound and the Cerberus Maid team, just know again that these figures are slated to release in November 2023. Many of you probably already looking at your calendar realizing we're in November right now. So these figures should start to drop pretty soon on any of the sites where you normally are picking your 6-scale figures up. Big thank you once again to the folks over at I8TOYS that did provide the sample we could have a look at. Certainly as well, if you guys want to check out more from I8TOYS, you can follow them over on Instagram, also on Facebook. And I'll certainly put the links down below in the video description if you want to check out the other stuff that the company has been producing. Some really stellar looking 6-scale figures, very intricately sculpted when it comes to their faces. The fact they actually have the trackball eyes, for the fact that they have as small of a sockets as they do. I was really impressed. That was probably the most impressed thing I was about these figures, but there's a big stack of things I was already happy with when it came to the figures. The tailoring of their outfits, the very detailed weapons that they're wielding, and all of the accessories that they come included with. They're really nice looking figures, whether you are even in the know when it comes to Serene Hounds, or you just want to get yourself a trio of really interesting looking 6-scale figures. Again, a big thank you to the folks over at I8TOYS. What do you guys think of them? Let me know down below in the comments section. Could you guys see yourselves picking up the Cerberus Maid team? Also as well, if you guys enjoyed this video, why not hit with a like? If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly would like to stick around for more, if you haven't already done so, I mean, it makes obviously no sense if you already have, but if you haven't, let's just say you're new here. This is the first time you're checking out something that the person behind the camera has already made. If you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and you're turning on the bell notification. Of course, as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.